Hello and welcome to our exploration of Egyptian mythology, where gods and goddesses reigned supreme over the realms of creation, life, and afterlife. In ancient Egypt, deities embodied natural forces, cosmic principles, and human qualities, guiding every aspect of life from birth to death and what was believed to happen after that. We know that there were about 1,500 gods and goddesses worshipped by mortals at that time, some say even 2,000. Myths built around those deities were very different in various cities and provinces of ancient Egypt. They also transformed with time, change of beliefs, and development of civilization, so much that sometimes it's incredibly hard to keep up with the religious path ancient Egyptians were following at that time, but it's certainly worth to try and get to know their gods better. In this video, we dive into Egyptian mythology and discover most revered deities, their main strengths and myths, in order to at least get in touch with this incredible ancient worship. Amun, the king of the gods, was revered as Lord of all, the creator deity and the divine force behind the sun and the air. He was one of the greatest gods in ancient Egypt, and it was believed he was one of 8 primordial Egyptian deities. Amun created first himself and then everything else in the universe. The center of his worship was the city of Iunu, today's Cairo. With time, he was merged with the sun god Ra and named Amun-Ra, at the same time taking on the role of father and protector of pharaohs. Thanks to association with Ra, Amun became visible, like the life-giving sun, and invisible, like the wind, at the same time. Those two, the most important aspects of both gods, combined together, established an all-encompassing deity whose aspects were every detail of creation. Amun is often depicted as a ram with human body or simply a ram and the husband of Mut. Together, they were the parents of Khonsu, the moon god. Ra, the sun god, creator and ruler of the heavens, is often depicted as a man with falcon's head and solar disk around it. It was believed that, when the time came, he created himself and rose from waters of none. Afterwards, he shaped 2 other deities, Shu, which means air, and his wife Tefnut, meaning humidity, who then engendered earth god Geb and sky goddess Nut. These 2 gave life to other deities, or, as they were called, principles of life. Ra created then the world by naming elements. According to the myth, humankind was shaped out of his tears. Egyptians believed that Ra was also the first king of Egypt. With time, he got older and decided to step down, which in his case meant to ascend to heaven and rule from there. According to probably the most known myth about him, during the day, Ra was traveling in his barge, as the sun itself, through the sky, and at night he had to find his way through the underworld. Before reaching the netherworld, his sun barge transformed into an evening one called a ship of million souls, and picked up all newly arrived and justified spirits to help them get to paradise known as Field of Reeds. As Ra made his way through the darkness of the netherworld, he was attacked by the deadly serpent Apep, who tried to stop the sun from rising again and destroy all life on Earth. Ra was associated with many other gods, but, first of all, he was always linked to Amun. Both gods became eventually one, called Amun-Ra. The evidences of Ra's worship, the pyramid texts, date back to 25th and 24th centuries BCE, and prove that his cult was already well established. The information was found in Egyptian city Iunu, by Greeks called Heliopolis, and to us known as Cairo. Pyramid texts were already describing sun god not only as a supreme ruler of other deities, but also comforter of souls in the afterlife and the embodiment of order and balance. This association of Ra with sky, earth, underworld, and power of the king gave him everlasting position in Egyptian mythology. Ptah, the architect god and patron of craftsmen, arts and trade, is also considered the husband of Sekhmet and the father of Nefertem, the god of perfume. Originally, Ptah was the local god of Memphis. Though the city itself was created by famous King Menes, who united Lower and Upper Egypt around 3150 BCE, there has been found an evidence of worship of Ptah as early as even 6,000 years BCE on the territory of future Memphis. People of the city believed that Ptah was the creator of all. He brought to live universe and other deities. He shaped cities, provinces of Egypt, and all things of beauty. According to some texts, he was also a father of the sun god Ra. After Egypt's unification, as the city of Memphis was becoming the center of crafts and production for the royal court, the influence of Ptah grew as well. He was considered a patron of all crafts and often associated with metalworkers. Additionally, Memphis gained most of cultural influences in the country. It is then understandable that the god of creation became quickly famous in every province, and soon after that grew to the position of one of the most important deities in Egyptian mythology. Geb, the god of the earth, son of the air god Shu and the goddess Tefnut, is the twin brother and the husband of Nut, the sky goddess. Together, they are the parents of Osiris, Isis, Set, Nephthys, and Horus the Elder. According to the myth, Geb and Nut were born gripped so tightly in each other's arms that their father needed to separate them. For ancient Egyptians, that was the explanation for why the earth is separated from the sky, with the air between them. This belief explains a popular depiction of Geb, together with his wife and the god of air, Shu, between them. Shu holds Nut over his head, while Geb lies at his feet. The earth god was the third divine ruler and a grandson to the sun god, Ra. Egyptian pharaohs believed themselves to be his descendants, and because of this, the king's throne was often referred to as the throne of Geb. The earth, on the other hand, was called the house of Geb. He was also referred to as a snake god, as the word for snake was son of the earth. According to the coffin texts, Geb was the father of the primeval snake Neheb-Kau. Nut, goddess of the sky and sister wife to Geb, mostly depicted as a star-covered woman, bent over the earth with her head in the west and feet in the east. It was believed that she was protecting her husband Geb from the night sky. Myths state also that she was swallowing the sun deity Ra every evening and gave birth to him each morning. God Thoth was replacing Ra in the sky at night. Nut was often associated with coffins and sarcophagi because she protected the deceased until they were reborn in the afterlife. As we already know, Nut and Geb had 5 children. As she got pregnant with them, Ra forbade her to give birth during the official calendar year. The Egyptian calendar consisted of 360 days in a year, 12 months with 30 days, each of those days 24 hours long. Desperate, Nut asked Thoth for help. According to Egyptian beliefs, the god of wisdom was secretly in love with her and agreed to help her without hesitation. Thoth was able to play dice with Khonsu, the moon god, won, and offered Nut 5 additional days in a year so she could give birth to her children. This is how Osiris, Isis, Seth, Nephthys, and Horus the Elder joined the Egyptian pantheon. Ra was furious when he found out that he was tricked and separated Nut from her husband Geb forever. Sky Goddess's father, Shu, was burdened with the task of keeping those two apart. However, Nut never regretted her decision, even if her children were initially considered intruders in the divine community. Osiris, the god of the afterlife and resurrection, is the brother-husband of Isis and the father of Horus. His parents were Geb and Nut, and he was their firstborn. Osiris is a Latin name of Egyptian Usir, which means powerful. Originally a god of fertility, Osiris became so popular among ancient Egyptians that he absorbed roles of other gods of fruitfulness and agriculture, Angeti and Kentiamenti, and gave laws and civilization to humans. Unfortunately, his younger brother Seth was jealous of his popularity, killed Osiris and chopped him into pieces, which he then scattered throughout Egypt. Osiris came back to life thanks to his wife Isis, who collected pieces of his body and breathed a breath of life into him. Soon after that, Isis gave birth to their child. Horus and Osiris descended to the underworld and became the god of the deceased. But that wasn't the end of his duties. Even from the land of the dead, he still was the power controlling the growth of crops and Nile flooding. Because of his death and resurrection, Egyptians associated Osiris with life, order, and gratitude. The god of the dead was often depicted with green skin, which symbolized the life-giving waters of the Nile River. The oldest portraits of Osiris date back to 2,300 years BCE, but they were very rare back then. In the time of the New Kingdom, his depiction was already known. Partially a mummy, green-skinned deity with a pharaoh's beard and arms crossed on the chest, with a crook in one hand and a flail in the other. He was wearing a white Artef crown, similar to one representing Lower Egypt, but with additional 2 ostrich feathers on the sides. Isis, the powerful goddess of magic and motherhood, second child of Geb and Nut, is the sister wife of Osiris and the mother of Horus the Younger. According to the myth, she played a crucial role in resurrecting Osiris and protecting her son. Even as one of the oldest deities, she didn't play a very important role at the beginning and had no temples dedicated in her name. She was a very devoted wife and mother, but only after thousands of years of worship, she finally received her status as the embodiment of cosmic order and queen of the universe. Not everyone knows that the name Isis comes actually from Greece. Her original Egyptian name was Aset or Eset, and translated to Queen of the Throne. This is also how she was depicted: a woman in a headdress in the shape of a throne. Egyptians worshipped Great Mother Isis as a goddess restoring human souls and welcoming newcomers in the afterlife. She was the embodiment of love, fertility, healing, and magic. Seth, the god of war, chaos, and storms, is the son of Geb and Nut, brother of Horus the Elder, Osiris, Isis, and brother-husband to Nephthys. Depicted as a red dog-like beast with a forked tail and cloven hooves, Seth was feared by both humans and gods. His name is usually translated as instigator of confusion and destroyer. The Egyptian war god is very well known as a murderer of Osiris, who was later brought back to life by his sister wife Isis. According to myth, Seth hated the thought of his brother being alive and becoming a father, so he decided to kill the baby. His mission failed, and much later, when Horus the Younger was grown, he and Osiris battled Seth for the last time and won. Seth was then adopted by the sun god Ra and became a thunder in the sky. He started to accompany Ra during his daily journey through the netherworld in night hours and protect him from the attack of Apep, a serpent attacking the sun, trying to stop it from rising again. For ancient Egyptians, Seth was a protector of soldiers, merchants, hunters, and any other people spending longer time far away from home. According to one of the myths, he inherited the deserts of Egypt from the god of earth and his father, Geb. Because of this, he was seen as a patron of caravans and named the Egyptian god of Oasis. Seth was also described as a trickster, the only god who played games for laughs, not because of his bad intentions. It seems a little bit surprising that the one spreading chaos in Ma'at, an extremely important concept of order and harmony, would be so worshipped. But Egyptians believed also that Ma'at must be challenged. Only then it can really thrive. Seth was known as a great warrior as well. He led the Egyptian campaigns in Syria. During the New Kingdom, he was presented as a martial god who could spread discord among Egypt's enemies. Ramesside pharaohs used the war god's name in their own: Seti I, Seti II, Setnak. and promoted the image of Seth as a hero son, protecting his father Ra during the fight with the serpent in the underworld. His fame started to fade with the fall of the Egyptian empire, just like it was in the case of all other deities. With the Egyptian god of war, we end today's exploration. Thank you for staying with us. If you like our content, please click the like and subscribe buttons. See you in the next video.